Hi people, I tried to make a video last night about the new series written by and based on her memoir, Paris Lee. It's called What It Feels Like for a Girl. Now this is a really original BBC production and an applause. I think it's fantastic because it actually shows trans life, emergent trans life, from the position of a young person who becomes aware of their transness, but also in the context of being working class and being involved in sex work, and then in the sort of queer party scene. That's kind of the first 3 episodes or so, and it really resonates. It really does. It resonates with a lot of trans women's experiences. Let's face it. But we don't always see these representations. And they're contextless, a lot of trans media representations, and they tend to not show the evolution of a person, even up to and including social and medical transition. So Paris Lee's isn't afraid to go there. And some of it's pretty dark, yeah? But this is the stuff that Cameron Awkward-Rich refers to as, those areas of our lives in his book, A Terrible Way, that we turn from because they're seen as being somehow negative or dark. And so Paris Lee's is really doing an incredible job. What is difficult is to see the violence, right? But violence, especially as a young person, pre-transition, but also emerging into transition, is not unknown to us. In fact, especially as a young person, it's incredibly common. And you think about the contexts that are drawn out in the series as well. So it's really quite a bracing ride. It is a ride because Byron initially sort of embraces the risk and the thrill of it all, and that's something I can relate to as well, because I definitely went through those phases and stages. I don't mean to say that being trans is a phase, but prior to, during, coming to consciousness about being trans. And these are formative moments. We have different timelines, we have different experiences than people who, by dint of cis privilege, to use that term, which I don't always use, can immediately get the safety of. What does align, though, is that a lot of women, cis women, also experience in their formative years as young women and girls violence. The difference for me is that my sense of transness doesn't emerge in conjunction with a sort of sexual orientation towards men. And while I can sort of see, and this is speaking more openly, not specifically about Paris Lee's work, I can see trajectories of formerly identifying as a gay man, being seen as feminine, and then that being bundled up with questioning about gender and discomfort around body and embodiment, and then transition. One does not necessarily lead to a heterosexual, one that is identification does not necessarily lead to a heterosexual orientation. I'd be interested to see where the series goes with that. I'm only a few episodes in, but for me, the sort of unblocking of embracing myself as trans also kind of helped me to understand why it is that I felt discomfort in, kind of romantic interludes or, more physical kind of contact with people of my same gender, that is women, because of the aspect of physiognomy. I don't know if that's how you say that word. I always struggle with that. But yeah, that wasn't right for me, and that was what's stopping it. And so I kind of understood my my sense of what others called effeminacy, right? Even femininity, as being therefore gay, even though I didn't necessarily have the strongest of attractions towards men. Doesn't mean I can't find a man attractive, right? It doesn't mean I dislike men or indeed hate them. That would be a bit ironic, right? But I'm not interested in them. And that's been a real awakening for me through social and medical transition. And it's also allowed me to think, well, I'm not here for you. You know, like, it's complex. What can I say? You don't have to put labels on it. It's fine to have ambiguity around your sexuality and not have it all worked out, whether you're trans or not. Some people would say they're trans and they're lesbian, right? And immediately that would raise the hackles of gender critical feminists and some who are lesbian identified who say you cannot be a lesbian. Fine. That's fine. You can be a lesbian. It's just in this case, it's just a functional word. It doesn't mean that people like me are going to immediately get into your spaces or want to. I don't want to be with people who are embracing of queerness, right? And transness. I'd never foist myself that way. And I'm someone who is not pushy and aggressive and violent. I've actually bared the brunt of a lot of that, as Byron does, actually, in the series. So, anyway, what it feels like for a girl, I do recommend it. It's really promising to see these sorts of narratives emerge right now as well, because our lives get talked about in such contextless and abstracted ways for political purposes. And we need to tell our stories, including in all their ambivalence, right? So no one has a life that's free of contradiction, whether you're trans or not. Or, particularly for women, free of violence. I mean, men also experience violence, right? But not gendered or gender-based violence. So, yeah, brace yourself for the ride. If you want to engage with the series, I do recommend it. I'll put a link below. So I feel like the accent's kind of rubbing off from me as well. Nottingham, I think it is. Am I wrong? That's where it takes place. I really related to the working class side of it because I grew up in those contexts as well.